All right, guys. Things are changing very quickly right now. Um, Will Hammond has been announced as starting for Texas Tech, and Bayron Morton has not practiced all week. I am currently sweating Danny Scudero and Walker Egan from San Jose State and whether they will play or not tonight in the late game. I think they will, but I have them in my lineup, and they're the only game late. We're going to do a weather report here in a second, and I need to check Will Hammond's price on DK. Speaking of DK, it sounds like Cade Klubnik is not going to play or potentially be limited because of the ankle issue. So that's kind of making things interesting there. I still don't think Justice Haynes ends up playing, but we'll find out more tomorrow. Like I said, I've just been grinding San Jose State news for the last little bit. I've been rather busy earlier. So, looking at our Fanduel plays this week. Sorry, I was just updating it. Starting off at the quarterback position. Core play number 1. Actually, I'm going to take him out. So he's gone now. All right. Core play number 1 on FanDuel. Haynes King. Obvious option. He's a core play on DK. He needs to be a core play on FanDuel. The ceiling's too big. The game spread is tight. So most people think that Duke should be favored and will win this game. Numbers say that as well. Duke's turned the corner a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. I do expect that King has to put the team on his back. They've kind of lacked a run game. I'm kind of surprised at how bad Jamal Haynes has been. This typically would be a spot that I'm very interested in Jamal Haynes, but I'm simply not. He just has not played well. Haynes King, an absolute dominant force, needs to be in lineups. He's 100% a core play for me. Obviously, getting 30 points in 3 out of 5 games with a 25-pointer. I'll take that all day, every day. His raw points is just far superior to almost anyone else. Core play number 2 comes in at 11-4. He's a core play basically most weeks in the Big 12. Brennan Sorsby has a very good rushing upside. He's thrown the ball extremely well. I love his floor. I think it's more in the 25-point range. Nebraska, he played absolutely terrible at throwing the football, still hung 23. The matchup is immaculate facing Oklahoma State. They are absolutely abysmal. What's up, David? Hope you've had a good Friday, getting ready. I'm going to be grinding lineups tonight once I get fully settled in here after this. I'm going to try to get everything built except for my top teams for DK. And then I like to build those on stream. News is very all over the place right now. Miami currently taking slightly a beating. When it was 14-0, that was an opportune time to live bet Miami because Louisville was always going to script it up very well. That's a Braum trait. Sorsby, great option, great rushing capability. He's throwing the football well. He's got a multitude of weapons. And obviously, Oklahoma State couldn't stop a nosebleed on defense right now. 40 points, well within there. I debated the running backs. I'd probably take a shot or two there, but I think Sorsby's just the guy, and he's the guy you need to play through. So, final core play, kind of mentioned it in the opener of what I was talking about with the injury news that's starting to move. I just added him because Bayron Morton is not going to start. He has not practiced all week. They are facing off with Arizona State. I don't think that's a tough matchup personally. I need to see what Will Hammond's price is on DK. I'll make a decision there. But as I said, I'm building my expensive stuff tomorrow on stream. So my higher dollar stuff being on stream, I'm going to worry less about my dollar shot plays, my 20 entry max stuff. I'm going to worry more about the big dollar stuff on stream. So I'll let the news flow in on that, and I can build all the other nonsense without worrying about news too much. But they got a 30-point team total. Bayron has been banged up, so that sounds like they're going to sit him down and then he'll be active in case. And the in case of is obviously Will Hammond loves to run. So he doesn't get enough credit for how much he runs. He toasted Utah in that game, which is a good defense, very comparable. But his rushing capability is not talked about enough. And at 8,600, Bayron at 86 was not going to be a play for me because he needs to get there on passing volume. And given that the running backs are so good, I don't think the passing volume's there. But Will Hammond gets there with rushing volume and passing. So he becomes a core play, whereas Bayron Morton was not going to be considered at the same price tag just simply for the rushing upside. So we just added 12 points to Bayron by getting Will Hammond in there. So I'm going to like Will Hammond a ton at 8,600. GPP options for me this week are going to be, I think people are going to gravitate towards those guys. I think under-owned wise, you have Trinidad Chambliss. I still think taking shots here makes sense. The rushing upside is good. Georgia's defense not quite as good as it has been. Scripted plays, all those things. There's risk, certainly. I don't love his points per dollar projection. So he's not in the tier of some of the other guys, but I will be willing to take shots because I think he can get, a 300, 100 game off in this one. I actually do hope Miami loses right now because it would confirm my priors that I didn't think Miami was very good coming into the season, but nonetheless. 9,800 right below him. I think John Mateer is a great option. He played awful last week, just absolutely terrible. He's still pretty good. I think South Carolina is pretty bad. LSU hung a good number on him, and that LSU offense has been absolutely terrible. That job could very well open up. I think you see somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 yards with one score or two scores with another score on the ground. We know that they lack a run game. So I would say that Mateer is a fabulous option in this spot at lower ownership right here. The last guy is an absolute puke play. I'll be honest. At Kentucky, I think Arch Manning's a solid play. Like the rushing's there. He's throwing the ball okay. If I can get this Florida line out of him and add a touchdown to get to 26, I'll feel pretty good about that at 9,300. I thought he turned the corner a little bit last week throwing the football. So I don't mind taking a shot or two. I don't love going here. I'll make one or two plays at a couple stabs because I think Kentucky tries to slow the game down and whatnot. But I have minor interest in Arch. I think he's a low-owned play that people are kind of soured on at this point. So I do have interest there. He's probably, of the GPP plays, I would probably rank him Mateer, Manning, Chambliss. Yeah, it just depends. Depends which one fits better. I don't think you need to stack any of those three with anybody. Same thing with King or Sorsby. Hammond, I have a guy that I want to stack with, but I don't have to. Last two guys in the pool, a little pricier. Need a stack partner. Sawyer Robertson at 12K, I have to have in the pool based on the over-under. It's just in a massive total. Are you worried about the weather in their game? No. Yeah, minimally, yes. For Maeva, yes, I don't have him. So I had Maeva as a in the pool originally. My guy doesn't do late weather, so it's kind of hindering me on FanDuel. So I don't love. I took Lemon out of a core play and moved him just into the pool, and I took Maeva out of my pool for that reason. I do like the run game for both teams, so I think there's interest there. I've heard Love's been banged up. I don't like so Love. We'll get to Love in a minute. Sorry, I got excited there. So weather so far, and this just mainly applies to DK, but let's just make sure we go through these. LSU Vandy, 10 to 15-mile-an-hour winds, no worries there. These are all the games that have any chance of weather. LSU Vandy, not really that worried. Let's see. Houston's not on this slate, so I don't have to worry about that. Baylor TCU, I saw popping up as some rumored weather issues. There's a chance for a stray shower there. No worries, no concerns. Fire up your Baylor and TCU guys. Michigan, Washington. Rain's going to hold off till after the game. Winds are at 10 miles an hour. No concerns there. Ohio State, Wisconsin. A sprinkle at worst. Probably not that. Winds at 10 miles an hour. No worries there. Not that Wisconsin even is relevant whatsoever. David, now you're making me feel bad about that. I don't know how I feel about that. Well, Sorsby's matchup's so good that I kind of hope that game stays closer. Yeah, you're not wrong. Texas A&M Arkansas is the problem spot. So Marcel Reed was originally in my pool. I took him out of my pool. I don't like Marcel Reed anyway. I have priors with that. I don't like him. So it's very easy for me to get off of Marcel Reed. I'm going to have a very little bit in 20 max on DK. Fanduel wise, I'll probably just fade him. There's supposed to be heavy storms around, especially pregame and around kickoff. Supposedly could be delayed game. There's a window to get it in between storms, but the chance for storms sticks around most of the day and night. Winds in the 10 to 15 miles an hour. The greater threat here is rain and potential lightning. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. So I don't really care about rain. Like I said, in 20 max, I don't have any issues. Or if you were playing 150 max, I don't have issues going to the A&M guys. I'm not going to change. It would be the A&M game. A&M's got a ton of rain. Sorry, I had a different screen open. So the A&M Arkansas has a ton of rain in it, and a ton of lightning rain. It's probably going to have a delay in that game. It's probably going to get pushed back a little bit. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. I don't mind playing it in mass multi-entries, but I don't want to play it in my I'll play it through with a run game, but I'm not going to play anything else from that game unless it's in some like high entry stuff, taking shots. Last quarterback in the pool, it should surprise nobody. I think this game has shootout potential, game stack potential. It could have weather issues. No, it's good. Ty Simpson at 10-8, thanks to quality play. Some of this stuff might change when we get to tomorrow. I'll have full updates tomorrow. This is just kind of where my head's at right now when I go to build, because I'm going to build all my FanDuel tonight. He just seems very safe to get to that 300-yard multi-touchdown game. Ryan Williams, I think, is banged up, but it doesn't so much concern me given where their run game is. I don't think you're going to see Jam Miller play in that one. So I think Jam Miller is going to be out. Speaking of Jam, I don't think he's going to play. So I think that ends up with they stink running the football without Jam Miller. So I think that puts more on the arm of Ty Simpson. He's got a little bit of mobility. I don't hate the play. I'm going to have a little bit, but I don't love it either. I think really, like I said, the top guys, it's King, Sorsby, Hammond, GPP options, Mateer, Manning, Chambliss, because they all have legs and they can run well. And then Robertson and Simpson have high team totals. I'll take a Malachi Tony touchdown. Come on. There he goes. There he goes. That boy is fast, man. That man's a water bug. He pulls away. All right. Running back wise, core plays at running back. I'm going to mention a few people here. I got 3 that I really like. So, hang on. Jam Miller's now upgraded to probable. I still don't think. Maybe he does play. I don't know. I don't love that. I'm not going there. I can tell you that right now. All right. Core play number one. I mentioned little Manning. I'm taking Quintravian Wisner as my top core option at running back at 8,600. I'm liking these mid-priced running backs the most this week. 22 carries, 5 catches. You can't top that workload. Did not find the end zone. Still put up 15 points. Facing off against Kentucky. I think Wisner can find the box multiple times in this one. Let's see if we can get a CJ Baxter update here. Reminder that Jarrett Gibson has left the program. Baxter's still questionable. He's week to week. I think they're going to ease him back in with the hamstring anyway. This is the Wisner show now. I'm going to play Wisner a good bit. He's my top back on the slate. Running back play number 2, Mr. Core here. Reuben Owens with Le'Veon Moss out. He's just priced too cheap. He should be a 9,500. They're lucky they didn't price him like DK did. But at 8.4, I think you need to get a bunch of exposure. He's the only he's probably one of the only guys at a north of 2 points per dollar projection. Here, they've already said he's going to get all of the workload against Arkansas team that got absolutely obliterated by Notre Dame. If it rains, even better. We get a muddy game. He starts getting into that 22 to 25 carry mix, 100-plus yards, multiple touchdowns, being very, very viable. All right. Next guy. So I'm going to talk about, let's go Bo Jackson at 7,500. I think he finally gets, 100 with 2 touchdowns this week. Floor's good, but the ceiling needs to be there. We need to see a ceiling game. We haven't seen it. I think he gets there this week. Bucky the Badger has no chance. I don't think they run the score up because of the fickle Ryan Day relationship, but Bo Jackson at 7,500, very solid price tag there. All right. There's no tag. Okay, good. All right. He was banged up. They had a bye week last week. I'm going to have a really hard time not making this my top core play. I had him orange for an injury issue. We haven't heard anything. No issues yet. I love Bryson Washington in this spot. He's far too cheap. So his projection looks terrible, not great compared to where he should be. The game environment could not be any better. I'm going to play a ton of Bryson Washington so long as I don't get any word that anything's wrong with him. He is by far and away my top option for the price. So realistically, I could tell you I'd be shocked if 75% of my teams on Fanduel are not Bryson Washington, Reuben Owens, Quintravian Wisner, and then maybe a split in hair of Bo Jackson and some others in here. Yeah, I think that's a very good idea. I wish I had props here. I don't. Thank you to Kayshawn Booty for ruining that. We do not have props anymore in Louisiana for college. All right. Injury question marks. I'll just speak to the ones that I know somewhat about. Justice Haynes, I don't think plays. The last thing to come out was Sharon Moore saying he could play. That's a no for me. So Justice Haynes, I think, is out. He has a 20-point projection. I don't think he ends up in there. So that means we get – damn, he's priced way too much. But we get Jordan Marshall. I don't mind it. I don't love it, but I don't mind it. He's not explosive, but he's going to get a bunch of work. He's worth taking shots on. I just prefer the other big three in that 8K range more. The other injury news is going to be Deshaun Bishop. They're saying he's expected to be available. They split a ton of work. I'm discounting him out. I kept him in the pool just to keep an eye on because I saw the ankle injury when he got rolled up on. Kind of looked like one that he was going to be out this week. So I think he's limited. I would not play him. I'm definitely out there. No interest now at all in anybody in that backfield. Same thing with Haynes, Marshall, all those. So, all right. Looking at the GPP options, I do think a lot of people are going to come to Jeremiah Love. I think a lot of people are going to go to Cameron Dickey. I think Joe McCollum probably goes under-owned. Now, like I said, I'm going to stick in that 8K range for the most part. But Jonah Coleman is a workhorse back facing a Michigan defense that is not scary and is part of the big three. The big three being DeMond Williams, Jonah Coleman, Denzel Boston. If I want to stack this game up, I want pieces of Jonah Coleman. I think Jonah Coleman is worthy of this price tag, but he probably goes under-owned for the capability that he has in this spot. Next GPP option, like I mentioned with Cameron Dickey, I think Jacoby Williams goes under-owned. He did not play the second half last week. It cost me a lot of money. He just is very capable out of the backfield. He didn't play great in that Utah game. That was a Will Hammond mostly game. Kansas was a Will Hammond mostly game. Maybe I need to go under-owned on Dickey and just stick to the priors and go with Bo Jackson, Wisner, Owens, and Washington over Jacoby Williams. It's possible, but I do think he goes under-owned for the salary there. All right, rest of the player pool. You got to keep Jeremiah Love in the pool. Now, if something does come out to that point that Jeremiah Love is out, you're going to, Jadarian Price at 8,900 is going to be an insane play because he's going to be a 20-point upside play, no doubt about it. He needs to be in the pool. Dickey got to be in your pool. He's playing really well. I actually am ending up more on Dickey on DK than I thought I would. But maybe that's just going to end up because I'm not playing enough Will Hammond yet, but I'm in there. I don't mind Keywan Lacey. Like we said on DK, I kind of like him. He's going to get a ton of volume. Yes, Georgia's a good enough defense, but you can't argue with 23 to 25 touches. Kind of hard to get away from that. What did Jam Miller do in that Georgia game? 16 carries, 46 yards. Not great. So I don't love Lacey. I don't hate if you get there. Just from the volume standpoint, I think he's in there. I think Hammond. So, yeah, David, that makes sense. So David's saying that does Hammond limit the ceilings of Jacoby and Dickey? I think he limits their carry volume. He will because he's more running. He's going to take some carries away. And when he scrambles, he's less likely to dump the football off, so you might be limited on catches some. But he should, because of his ability to run, increase the efficiency numbers. So their yards per carry should go up with Hammond by comparison. I'm more interested in Hammond now because he's in there, and I'm definitely more interested in that and playing that direction and that angle now than I was before. Just no. I like you guys asking questions. I'd rather y'all ask questions because it might be something that you're trying to think through that I haven't processed yet. That's kind of, or it might be that's what I'm processing in my head and I'm not saying it out loud. I try to say what I'm thinking the best I can, but I'm going to skip stuff plenty. Nate Shepard, I think, needs to be in the pool. He's highly efficient, explosive weapon. He's a very good option to pair with Haynes King if you want. More of an in the fringe style play. I mean, that's what we're talking here. Your Ahmad Hardy's, I think he's got to be in play. He had a 12 for 52 against Bama. Bama's good run defense, so I don't want to pick on them particularly. But you look at, the numbers flat out. He's got 20, 22, 24. It's hard to argue with those 20 plus carry guys, those workhorse backs. You got to kind of leave them in. Excuse me. It's been a long day. All right. There's a couple question marks on this slate here. I'm just going to pull them by the game. All right. I have moderate. Oh, that's Gabe Sawchuk. I was like, why they still got Gavin Sawchuk? I think Torrey Blaylock, if you needed a punt, is interesting. He's probably the best back out of this Oklahoma backfield. He's the one guy that could get it done against South Carolina. So if you have to punt and you're stuck and you love every piece of your lineup and you can't get up to like a Bo Jackson, I think Torrey Blaylock's interesting. And then from the USC side, I would say Brian Jackson is more interesting to me than King Miller. King Miller got the work because he was kind of the only guy that was allowed to get the work at the time. And then they just kind of decided to wear the fine and let Brian Jackson come in. Brian Jackson's a pretty good player. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Jackson got most of the work at 6,300 this week over King Miller. So I would prefer to punt with Brian Jackson at 63. And then if I was going to get to King Miller, I'd rather just go to Bo Jackson at 75 or Jacoby at 78. But I would say Blaylock and Jackson are your two punt plays. Wide receiver wise, this is going to get interesting because the pricing's weird. So core plays for me at wide receiver. Number one, it has to be. I'm going to take Jeremy Bernard at 8,900. That's my guy. I play him every week. I love the floor. I don't love the ceiling. But in a spot where I think their run game stinks, they might get into a shootout. I think we could see something in this 146 with one line. I think he gets into the mid 20s or low 20s in points, maybe even can touch the 30s at 8,900. I'm not a Ryan Williams guy right now, so I would say Williams would be off my board, and I would like Bernard a good bit. Yeah, so that's where I think for my personally, I would take Brian Jackson as the running back, whereas I think everybody else pivots. I'll probably end up with a little bit of Brian Jackson. I'm gonna put him in. I'm gonna put him in my pool, 6,300, because I want to have some variability a little bit. But I mean, realistically, like, I'd say I'm going to end up, like I said, 70% is going to be between Owens, Wisner, Jackson, and Washington, or Owens, Wisner, and Washington, probably, with a little bit of Bo, Brian Jackson, the B-Jacks, and then Jacoby probably mixed in, maybe a little Dickey, maybe a little Love, depending. But yeah, I'm kind of living in that mid 8K range based on conceptually right now. Second core play, it's got to be. I have to call him a shot. I'm taking Josh Cameron. He hadn't blown up lately. I think he's going right back to the SMU well. 30 points there. Wouldn't be shocked. So I think a multi-touchdown game is incoming. I think we get that nuke out of him. At 8,200, I'm perfectly happy with it. So you're really kind of choosing to an extent between Bryson Washington and Josh Cameron, but I think you can play both. Both can get there. Usually I'm going to prefer to pick one or the other. I'm very close, and I'm going to talk about this now because I'm really tempted by it. I want to make Jordan Tyson a core play. I really do. I had him in orange. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with him. They're going to have to throw the football. I'm scared for Sam Leavitt. Sam Leavitt's banged up. The Texas Tech defensive line is too good. If Leavitt goes out of this game, he's basically dead. I mean, he luck boxed his way into a rushing touchdown last week. Yeah, his target volume is going to be there. It's so bad. It's so bad with Jeff Sims. I just, man, I'm going to get there and play Jordan Tyson because he projects very well. But I'm also scared to death of it. That's what I'll say. Final core play, and I feel sick even doing this, but I'm going to do it. It's a gut feeling, gut check week. I'm going to split that ownership probably, but there's not a standout, love him core guy at the bottom down here. But I'm going to buy that Caden Lee's starting to be more of the offense. So at 5,900, scoring 2 weeks in a row, I don't think he's going to kill me if he doesn't get there. But I do think they're going to have to throw the football against Georgia. So I would expect Caden Lee to be a big part. I'm going to do some more research on that, but I really do feel like Caden Lee's a good value at 5,900 here. All right, let's look at the GPP options. So if the price was better, he'd be a core play. But the fact of the matter is that the man's priced above Jeremiah Smith, Mekhi Lemon, who are two of the top two, probably the top two wide receivers in the country. And Jordan Tyson's not far behind. So he's got to be a GPP play because he can't be a core play. Yes, he has delivered 3 weeks in a row, or these 3 games. There was another game in there that he just didn't. He played 6 snaps and didn't touch the football. I can't, in good faith, make him a core play at 11-2 because I don't think the floor's there. I think the ceiling is, but I just don't think the floor is. I've talked about it ad nauseum this week. This was a luck box. I think it was like 2 catches for 100 and something, like 110 yards for 2 touchdowns to end this game in absolute garbage time. He had like 2 for 40 going into it. So I can't buy that. That was an absolute luck box into that second touchdown late in that game. This is the only game that I can truly say he absolutely dominated and was this good. And it was SMU, and SMU's let up points to everybody. Now, Baylor lets up points in bunches too. So if I was going to play a TCU player as a bring back, it's probably McAllister. I just don't know that I'm going to. I mean, I will, but man, he's just not a guy that I'm saying, hey, I'm going to insert into my lineups routinely. That's kind of where I'm at with him. It's just not a guy that I'm like, oh, he's the first name I'm clicking. It's more like, all right, I'll click him if I have the salary, but I'm not like going out of my way here. GPP play number 2. He's right there with Jeremy Bernard. He's not going to get clicked at all. I will take Cooper Barkate. I still think he's the unquestioned number 1 wide receiver for the Duke Blue Devils. They throw the ball at a massive pass rate over expectation. He started finding the end zone. I think the 100-yard game is coming. It's coming very soon. He's very similar play to Jeremy Bernard. Just kind of hasn't gotten as much ceiling as Bernard, but the floor has been really good. So I think he's a very safe play to throw in there, but I think he comes in under-owned, and he's a good pivot off of Jeremy Bernard. Similar game environments, so there's no doubt that either one of them could pop off at any given time. So I think both are similar plays, but most of your clicks are going to go to Bernard over Barkate. Final GPP play, I love a good punt. I love a good punt play. 5,700 Fanduel dollars. Terrence Carter is sneaky. So with Will Hammond back there, I probably lower his ceiling a touch, but this is the tight end, and he doesn't come off the field. They rotate wide receivers. The wide receivers have gotten expensive by comparison. You know, if we look at it, I've been hyping these Texas Tech wide receivers for a few weeks. Problem is their price tags are catching up. Like I was paying $6K for Caleb Douglas. We were paying in the low portions for Reggie Virgil, Coy Eakin. I think it's a Coy Eakin week personally. He had 0 targets last week, just was running out there running wind sprints. But I think this is a week to buy into Eakin if I'm going to buy into anybody. I know Douglas played okay the last few weeks. Personally, I would stack Carter and Eakin or Jacoby Williams and Carter with Hammond, but I'm probably going to get some Carter Eakin, or maybe I'm just going to go Eakin and Tyson. Tyson's the only player for Arizona State that I'm willing to play. Period. But I do like Terrence Carter as a good option. Oh, excuse me. Hurting tonight. All right. Rest of the pool. Obviously, you're always going to have Jeremiah Smith in your pool. There's never a reason not to. His floor is unmatched. He's going to score every week. I worry about the ceiling. That's always where the question comes in. So that's where I think that ownership gets kind of spread between these three. I really did want Mekhi Lemon to be a core play for me. I think he's playing better than the other two. I think he has the better situation. All of the targets flow through him. I have less of a concern there. We'll have to look at the weather. I'm going to get some idea on that. If the weather is good enough, I'm perfectly happy playing Mekhi Lemon and playing having him more than the other two as a base play. Otherwise, McAllister's going to take top billing of the basically 9,700 and above guys, with Tyson kind of being there. But I'd probably prefer McAllister over Tyson even. Chris Brazzell needs to be in the pool. If they're going to keep up with Bama, it's going to be on the back of Brazzell. I'm not the biggest Brazzell fan. He's a big play threat. Alabama's defense has been playing pretty good. I don't mind Brazzell. I'd keep him in your pool, but he would be mainly used as like a piece where I play, maybe a Ty Simpson double or something. Just kind of a bring back play for me for the most part. Denzel Boston, you got to keep in the pool for sure. If you're going to play that Washington angle, I don't hate that. He's definitely the target monster there. I just prefer other guys around him. I guess now that I'm talking through this, I probably should have just deleted Brazzell and Boston because I don't like highlighting bring back plays to an extent. If I was going to play an A&M wideout, I prefer Concepcion this week. But with the weather coming in, I might end up off of that completely. I kind of had him in the pool just as an idea. I do like Concepcion, though, as the player. Let's see. The rest of the guys are fairly cheap. So minimal interest in Jacoby Lane. I'm always going to keep him in my pool as a touchdown threat. At 7,100, he isn't priced up to be prohibitive. If he was 8,200, maybe I'd have less interest. But at 7,100, I feel pretty good there. Don't mind taking shots there if the weather is good. And then we're starting to get into the more fun guys, funsy plays. So I mentioned Coy Eakin at 6,700. I kind of like doing the Ty Simpson double stack given the situation they're in at wide receiver. And honestly, I actually really like this price on Isaiah Horton, especially if Ryan Williams is out or limited again. He gets a good amount of targets. The floor's kind of been there. We just haven't seen a ceiling game. I got a good bit of interest here. He might end up being a lot of my last man in. He's actually really one of the better points per dollar plays. He stands out. He could have been a core option. I just prefer Bernard. I'm a big Bernard believer, but I think Horton, I like Ty Simpson doubles. I might make about 5 Ty Simpson double lineups with Horton and Bernard in them. All right, next on the list. Oh, this is a new favorite toy for me. Andrew Marsh at 6,400. I like this. If I was going to play a Michigan guy as a bring back, it's Andrew Marsh. Just absolutely coming on strong out of that bye week against Wisconsin. Built on it against USC. Taking on Washington. Washington was a good defense. They're just so banged up now. I think Marsh is the unquestioned number one in this offense. If anybody's going to catch a good amount of balls, it's him. So I think going forward, this is a good name to watch. If anything, we just need to consider that he's a name to watch going forward. But right now, he's still a speculative play to an extent, but he's good. If you're going to do Duke doubles, I don't mind Quayshawn Brown. He's definitely my second favorite wide receiver. I just prefer him on DK over Fanduel personally. Let's see. Next guy on the list. I mean, how do I not? Guys, I keep getting burned by it, but I'm going to keep going back to the well. When I started to talk about Caden Lee, I legitimately debated switching my core play to Cam Coleman. And I still might. If I have the salary and I'm not sitting exactly at 5,900, I'm going to have a really hard time not splitting it. So if I have 6K or 6,100, looks like up to 6,300. So let's just say I have 6,300 left and I had it on 10 teams. I'm going 5 Coleman, 5 Caden Lee probably because the kid's too good. Cam Coleman's too good. He's just such a good player. It's just Jackson Arnold sucks so bad, and it hurts me so deeply. If he could just get the football to this guy, he will score touchdowns. So I have a hard time not playing him. Like I said, I'd split the ownership, and I'd maybe even if it was 10, I might do 4, 4, and I might even if I've got Arch Manning, I'd rather play this. So this might be 2. It might be 4, 4, 2. I think DeAndre Moore is a reasonable play for the price. I prefer him to Livingstone personally. Don't love Livingstone. He had that really good early part of the season. I just prefer Moore, and I don't think I want to pay in Arch stacks for an 8K Ryan Wingo. Like, he's just not playing well. So I prefer to go with Moore. There's more upside there, pun intended. If I'm going to punt, I have one guy that I don't mind punting with who has a very good floor. Colby Young is in a very good matchup here. So, like, if I really like the idea of just playing Trinidad Shambliss, Colby Young together. I think you can play Caden Lee in that situation, but I don't mind getting to this. The floor is really solid. I need some ceiling. Ceiling kind of hadn't been there. This feels like a game where Colby Young probably finds the end zone in this one. So game stacks, pretty easy on here for this. Your game stacks this week are Baylor TCU, obviously. Georgia Tech Duke, obviously. I think you play a couple Texas A&M Arkansas game stacks just to cover yourself in case it gets weird there. So I would mix that in. I would do, let's just say, I'll probably do 2 teams. I'll probably do a Taylor Green Concepcion, and Ruben Owens in one team. And then I'll probably do a Marcel Reed, Concepcion, Ruben Owens onslaught team in the other one. And that'll be my 2 ways to play that game with the weather issues that we think are going to be there. Ole Miss, Georgia, I think is a good game stack. I would do that. I don't even mind it because of Gunner's price, doing Gunner with Colby Young and Shambliss in there. Or you could do Shambliss with both wide receivers that are cheap. You could do it either way. I think both are viable. I wouldn't necessarily do Shambliss, Stockton, and both wide receivers. That feels like saving too much salary. USC, Notre Dame. I think it's a good game stack depending on weather. If the weather is good and Love is a go, that seems like a lot of ifs. I think Maeva, Lemon. I think you can do Maeva doubles with Lemon or with Love. Let's see. Can you even do that? Let's see. I think I can. I think I can do it. Let's do Lane. Let's do that way. I don't like the pricing on these guys particularly. All right, and let's see. I got to go super cheapo mode to do it. That's for sure. Because basically, getting Jeremiah Love is like putting a freaking quarterback in. Let's do Colby Young at 5,500. Okay. And let's do Will Hammond at 86. That's only going to leave me 51. So, yeah, you might not be able to do a double. Yeah, that's going to be tough. All right, so you can't really do the double. So I think you're probably going to have to do that and then go cheap again here. Let's just say you do Caden Lee for fun. All right. And that way you get a little bit of that game. And then coincidentally, that's funny. All right, so if I was playing it, I'd probably play it this way. That'd probably be my preferred method to play it. That's probably the best way if I was to guess. So yeah, that way you go USC Onslaught with the Notre Dame bring back. That's probably how I'll end up on that. Tennessee, Alabama. I think you need to game stack that as well. That's pretty simple, though. I think you just do Ty Simpson with Bernard and or Horton, and then Brazel would be my preferred bring back there. I don't really love the pricing on the other wide receivers. I'd rather just pay for Brazel. And I think you could do team stacks otherwise. I think you're looking at – I wouldn't do game stacks for them. And you can obviously do individual team stacks for all of those game stacks. But I would say Texas Tech is a team stack. Although now I'm kind of looking at it, I might game stack it with Tyson as the bring back. I think Ohio State you can team stack. Texas you can team stack. I think you could really do a triple with Texas. You do Manning, Wisner, and Moore, and then just avoid Kentucky. And then I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Nobody's playing you. Don't play Sam Jackson. I'm just going to keep saying it. So if people want to play Sam Jackson, go right ahead. I can't do it. I scored more fantasy points than Sam Jackson last week, and he played a whole football game. So let's stop with the wide receiver playing quarterback nonsense. All right? Doesn't matter. It's not Greg Ward. This is not Lynn Bowden. Those guys were drafted high in the NFL draft for a reason. Sam Jackson is never getting drafted unless it's the Arena League. Sorry to Sam Jackson's family if they watch. I appreciate your viewership. So, yeah, Cincinnati stacks. You can go Sorsby. I might try to pick something out. I think Jeff Caldwell could be decent as the secondary piece. So maybe you go Caldwell. I would love to be able to pick one of these two running backs to be the guy. I just have no idea. I think Pryor maybe has the best chance because of explosiveness, but Walker gets so much work around the goal line. I rode that Tyree Walker train last year. It was a fun ride for that middle portion of the season. But I would say if I was to do it, I really wish he caught falls because he's so good in open space. He's just such a slogger. Maybe I end up building two. I end up with a Sorsby Walker and a Sorsby Pryor, and they probably go with, maybe it ends up being Cyrus Allen. Maybe it ends up being Caleb Goody. Maybe it ends up being Joe Royer. Joe Royer is about as safe as it gets on that offense, but maybe it's Caldwell. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. Cincinnati team stacks are tough. I might just end up on Sorsby by himself and just go, I'm happy that I scored points with some other people. All right. I'm going to start building and start looking into things. And why did I put week 6? It's week 8. That's stupid. So yeah. So I'm going to try to come up with everything going on. And I will start building. And I got to keep watching the news for San Jose State. But otherwise, I'll be back in the morning at 9 a.m. And we'll have a lot clearer picture from the injury reports and everything. And I'll actually have some teams built, so then I can just basically answer questions as to what y'all are trying to do. Bring 2v2s, 3v3s, whatever you need, a wide receiver below X dollar amount that you want to play. We'll figure it all out. So I'll see you guys in the morning. Look forward to it. Appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate the interaction. And y'all have a good one. Goodbye.